So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts 133. The Bible is not reliable. I am here, of course, with my co-hosts who once again have no sense of time, but that's okay because we love them anyway.
But we have books.
We do have books.
I have a book. So it's
He has a book that I still have not read because he did
oh
not.
God damn it. I'm
Yeah.
right. That's terrible of me. In
Fact,
fact,
because I'm not important.
oh God, no, that's not. That's not.
By the way, that book is,
That is not
read off the title, Kip, in case anyone is visually impaired.
It's God's propaganda, pulling back the curtain on what the Bible wants you to see.
All right, thank you. We do like to make sure that
Go get the link.
I do actually know that I have some people who are active on the channel who are visually impaired.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, that's good.
And also, that's available at all reputable bookstores. And the way you can tell it's reputable is if they have that book.
That's it. That's right. So, but you should probably buy it on. I'm not that I'm trying to shill for Amazon because they're fucking terrible. But
yes,
yeah, you should probably buy it on Amazon. There it is. Thank you, Vish. And
Ben Luke Lick Fungus Stick Tunicate gifted 5 memberships. So here's an idea. I'm going to take 5 drinks of this wonderful pina colada that I just made, with a maraschino, one of those candy apple red maraschino, not one of the fancy Luxardo maraschino cherries, the traditional candy apple red maraschino cherries, while Kip tells us about that book, and while I take 5 drinks.
Okay, so sorry, I'm actually trying to find it so that I can give it to you guys.
Well, Tasha for $5 says, "Congratulations, published author Kip Davis, on your first book, the only book you've ever written."
It's very true. Thank you. Roosters. Yes, I appreciate that. So I'll wait to do this in a minute. So the book is based on a course that I used to teach for many years at a couple different universities, and also which I developed online a few years ago. And it's basically my exploration of the history behind the text of the Bible and the text of the Bible, the religions and the culture and the politics of the people who identified themselves as Israel, their ideologies, their worldview, and how these things were handled essentially by the biblical authors. I use the word propaganda in the title because I think it takes a very careful read of a lot of this literature to see what's going on behind it, and to realize that there are invested parties who are promoting their own political, social, I don't even like the word religious when you're talking about this period, but we're kind of stuck with it. Their own ideas in terms of their own power structures. So it's a big book. One of the reasons why it's so big is because it dives into a wide range of these things that appear in the Bible. There's 17 chapters. It's divided into 4 parts, and I'll just tell you, like, the 4 parts are the known world at the beginning, which is basically just a primer on like the geography, the ecology, the literature, these sorts of things in the broader ancient Near East. The second part is institutions. Is it institutions? No, I have to look. Which is basically broad, widely accepted ideas. Sorry, universal truths. Broad, widely accepted ideas about things like origins, creations, the gods, and then I put my chapter on Yahweh in there as well. And then the third part is institutions, which are basically the social and structural apparatus of the people that eventually came to identify themselves as the sons of Israel. And then the fourth part is ritual, space, and knowledge, which is all about some of the more, that's where I talk about ancient religion, the sacrificial system, the temple, and I finish up with a chapter about wisdom literature and about apocalypticism. And I think my chapter on apocalypticism is probably my favorite. So, anyways, that's it.
Shanti, how you doing?
Mixed bag.
That's fair.
Mixed bag. Like I have some iced coffee.
Nice.
My breakfast, which is helping, regulate my temperature. I haven't been sleeping super well, which, that's not great. And I've, for whatever reason, I don't know if Mercury's in Gatorade again, but I have sent many messages out to people about projects that we're working on and received no responses back. So that's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Because, there are things called deadlines, and I don't know that they realize that those deadlines are very soon. So.
All right. Well, we are here primarily to talk about a vlog from ICR. As you can see, it says ICR right there on the screen. This is Renee Dussault, who is, I guess, I think she's one of their newer hosts for these vlogs. I don't remember having seen her a whole bunch of other times. No Trade Bowling today, who is probably my favorite of the ICR hosts, because he always at least seems to be enthusiastic about whatever the heck's going on, which I cannot say for most of their other hosts, who seem like they're just clocking it at work, whereas, despite the fact that everything that's going on is incredibly dumb, Trey at least is like, oh wow, yeah, that's cool, yeah. He's always like animated and excited. But hey, you know what? Maybe Renee will be too. We are here. She is going to be interviewing Dr. Brian Thomas, a paleobiochemist, which I gotta be honest, I don't entirely know if that's actually a field of study that is separate. He's the only person I've ever heard call himself that. I also don't really care. So yeah, but he's not going to be talking today about the biochemistry of ancient life. Instead, we're going to be talking about 5 reasons why you can trust the historical narrative of the Bible. We're going to check to see whether or not you can. Now, before we get into this, I do want to say a few things. One is, there are absolutely parts of the Bible that have been verified to be reporting on things that actually happened, right? Like, we know the Babylonian captivity happened. We know there was a King Cyrus. We know that various the reported Roman rulers in the Gospels were actually the actual rulers at that time in those places. Numerous, wars, battles really happened. Second, that something has not been demonstrated to have happened outside of the Bible is not evidence that it didn't happen. So sometimes people will say, well, this battle, we don't have evidence of it. It's like, okay, but would we? I don't know. Have we checked? I don't know. Do we know exactly where it happened? I don't know. So there is a difference between not corroborated and disconfirmed. So that is another thing we're not saying, is we're not saying that anything that's uncorroborated is therefore false. That is not the position that I'm going to take. I don't think it's a position either Kip or Vishanti are going to take, that just because something isn't corroborated, that makes it false. But there are also other things that we know that are reported in the Bible that absolutely 100% did not happen. There is no question about
Little
that.
flood.
100%.
Yeah. So, in order to say that this is not something that happened, we need more than just not corroboration. We need actual evidence of the thing not happening, which in some cases we have. Now, I say all these things because creationists really like to sometimes push what I think of as like a maximal biblical skepticism, right? Where basically people will say that unless it has complete corroboration and overwhelming evidence, then we say it's false. And I don't know that that's anyone who's working in history or archaeology's position. or biblical studies. I don't think that's the position of any of those people. Can you find people out there who would have that position? Yeah, but they're also the kind of people who tend to fall for like Jesus mythicism bullshit. So like,
yeah,
you know. So I am
like, Christianity stole everything from pagans. Like, no, it didn't.
No, it didn't. No. It is its own outgrowth of Second Temple Judaism that had its own interactions with Hellenism and Greco-Roman philosophy, and its own wrestling with its own definitions and developed its own traditions, just like every other damn religion out there, except for like the geographical particulars. Let's see, Tatcha out there. Sorry, Tatcha says for $2, Dapper out here counter-programming the final debate. I am actually counter-programming the final debate. I did not know that was what it was happening. Although, from what I understand, is there actually going to be any flat earthers who show up for the final debate? Because it seemed like every single person I know of who was asked said no.
Tell me about this. I don't know anything about this.
So Will Duffy, who is he's the megachurch
Young Earth Creationist.
Young Earth Creationist, yep. But who also has probably dealt the most severe blow to internet flat earth that has ever been dealt.
Good for him. That's great. Thank you, Will Duffy.
He is currently offering fairly large sums for any flat earther, fairly large sums to be donated to a charity. I think it was like I don't remember what it was. For some reason, I have stuck in my head that it was like a charity that helps with human trafficking or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think it was like a
charities are good.
Build a new church charity. I think it was a charity that's actually
helping. Like a real one, like an actual
something that would be unobjectionable to basically anyone. Except perhaps, the current king of the former United States, who is in fact a human trafficker by all appearances. Anyway, except for that guy, this would be unobjectionable to everyone. And so it was fairly significant money for everyone who agreed to come, and basically no one did. Everyone was like, no, you're a dishonest actor. It's like, okay, well, I'm a dishonest actor who's offering to give a gigantic donation to a charity in your name. Do you want these people to continue suffer, or would you... Yeah, I'm getting confirmation that yes, it was a human trafficking charity. So, but as far as I know, no one took him up on that. Now, of course, there is the counterpoint, like, couldn't you just donate it anyway? Which I am hoping he does make a donation either way, but like, I get using it as an incentive. So, Nether6, who's been a member for 20 months, says, I'm getting published under et al. Still with deal with it, Darwin, and that is awesome. Plus,
very nice.
Even if it is under the et al., your name is still going to be up there on that paper. So congratulations.
It is. And there's all sorts of different bibliographic conventions, but at least in the one that I use, you still have to type out everybody's name in your bibliography. So,
well, there you go.
There you go.
All right. So, I think
when you say, hey, if you participate in this thing, I'll make a donation to a charity. The issue isn't, well, you could have just donated it anyway. The issue is you're wanting to enable somebody to like have good done in their name.
Right. Yeah.
That's the point.
Mm-hmm. Or on the other hand, sometimes
they just
you give a donation in someone else's name to a charity they would hate. Like, can you imagine?
Either way, you want them to have some credit for that act of good.
Like, hey, what if we got together a bunch of money to give to like Planned Parenthood in Kent Hovind's name? He would hate that.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would.
He would hate it. And what is he going to do? Say no? Like, you don't get a choice. We put it in your name. What are you going to do?
So,
all right.
Mauled.
It's established, right? Like this is. I'm pretty sure this is. It's my suspicion, but like Will Duffy is like quite massively independently wealthy. I think.
Is moneyed.
He basically retired to go do this pastoring.
Church stuff. Yeah.
He was like a hedge fund manager or something like that.
Oh, of course.
And so he's independently wealthy, and now he's been like, I think he's actually pastoring Bob Enyart's former church.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah,
that's wild. But I mean, that's a step up, right? I have to think anybody is a step up from
Bob Enyart.
Bob Enyart.
It would be hard to be a step down at the very least. I could see a lateral move, but it would be very hard for it to be a downward step. Yeah.
Hey, Dapper.
Yes.
Fearmonger says, lol, my mother made a donation to Planned Parenthood in Alaska on behalf of a Tradcath former friend of ours. Sure, she loved getting that thank you in the mail.
Nice.
Awesome. You know what? Like, I maintain that it's possible that I might meet a cool trad cap, but it's never happened.
Taj, or your username things are messing up again. So
no, they're not messing up. This is the new thing YouTube is rolling
out. It's just is this the thing now?
Yeah,
it's just hit most channels
going to be the thing.
It wasn't on Kip's channel. I don't see it in other live streams.
So a small number of channels are having it. Well, a small portion of channels are having it rolled out first as a test bed, and they don't ask people to opt in or out of that. I'm one of those, and the plan is to expand it to all of YouTube eventually. So it's not coming back, guys.
It's the worst. Really? Oh my god. Anyways, Meat Permits Tad, who just recently changed his name to something about raspberries that I can't remember, says Will Duffy was a finance guy who took over his local church when Enyart died. I assume that's Enyart.
Yeah. So. Dealing for $5 says they can't bring on an expert to talk about the Bible. Yeah, no, they can't. I don't know why. You would think they would have an on-staff guy who's like actually good at Bible stuff, but instead we're getting the paleobiochemist. I don't know why.
They have this. I mean, and not that I object, because as you know, I share the same obsession, but they have this deep obsession with the Bible, and yet no actual scholars of the Bible.
See, that's the thing is they don't have a deep fascination with the Bible. They have a deep fascination with their own beliefs about the Bible, independent of anything that's in the Bible.
Okay, that's better. I like that
because
better.
They clearly don't care what's actually in the Bible, because what they say is in there isn't what's in there. For the most, well, often.
No.
It's not like it's never what's in there, but it's often not. All right, so we are going to get into this. You guys know the drinking rules. If you don't, you guys will figure them out. Also, there is a super chat goal to unleash, well, everyone, but especially Kip. If we get to 30, we're already at 2. Also, I'll show you, if we can get to 200% Dapper 22, I will also make an anime avatar at a request, because it's a lot of work to make a new avatar. I don't currently really want to, but if we get there, I will make the requested anime avatar and use it in my next video. If we only get to fancy avatar, then I will put up a poll. All right, here we go.
Host Renee, and we're going to be using the next couple episodes to discuss the reasons why you can trust the Bible.
Oh, hey, that means we get to do another video of the same thing afterwards. Fun.
The Bible is God's word. At least it claims to be. And for
Does it
actually?
I mean, some of it is claimed by the author, whoever that might be, or whatever editor, to be words from God, like when Moses receives the Decalogue. Those are supposed to be the words of God, I suppose. But most of it doesn't even claim to be the word of God.
No.
So let's just take a drink for the Bible claims to be the word of God, which it doesn't really.
It's such a, and this is, I mean, it's just such a historically naive perspective of the Bible, right? Like they're obviously talking about the Protestant Bible.
Oh, very, right? Very obviously. Yeah. That's the thing with, unless a Young Earth Creationist organization is specifically branded with a non-Protestant, like something like the Colby Center, which is named for Maximilian Kolbe, then you can almost 100% guarantee it's going to be Protestant in orientation in every possible way.
Here's the thing, though, right? So there are several different collections of Christian scriptures. There's, a couple of collections of Jewish scriptures. And there have been for thousands of years now, as far back as people started to actually do this. And there's open scholarly dialogue on when that even started to take place and what that looked like, right? But here's the thing. Just in terms of Christian scriptures, the Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox and the Ethiopian Church and the Coptic Church, all were all putting together their scriptures, their Bible, in the first few hundred years of the founding of the church. The Protestant Bible happened in like the 15th century.
And also, I want to point out, it was basically the dogmatization of a money-saving effort by Bible publishers.
Oh, is that just to keep the is that why the
Apocrypha is not in there anymore?
The Apocrypha.
Yeah, basically,
it's just because it costs too much money to
so what first started happening is because
wow.
So there had long been a sort of feeling in Western Christianity that the parts of the Old Testament that were not known from Hebrew originals were of secondary importance in the scriptures.
Right, yes.
But in the Catholic Bible, traditionally, they had just been interspersed in a particular order throughout, the history books and the prophets and whatnot. Yeah. And they were just in there. But when Martin Luther was coming to the Bible, despite the fact that he was like, oh, sola scriptura, he was himself picking and choosing what counted. And so he...
Oh, yeah.
Famously, he was very close to kicking out the Epistle of James from the New Testament.
That's right. The right strawy Epistle of James.
Yeah, because, if you're going to base everything you believe on the Bible, I guess that also means you get to pick what's in the Bible in the first place, which seems convenient. And it seems like what's actually happening is you're just believing whatever you want, and you're using whatever books are left as your excuse. But hey, that's just me saying this. I'm not Martin Luther. I can't say what was going on in his brain, besides a whole lot of anti-Semitism that was going on in his brain. But yeah, so Protestants started putting the Apocrypha into a separate section, which usually went the Hebrew scriptures that actually have Hebrew originals, or that were known at the time, because we've found some Hebrew originals for some of the other books that were in the Apocrypha since then, but whatever. Then the Apocrypha, then the New Testament. But Bible publishers, as a cost-saving measure, started printing editions that didn't have the Apocrypha. And no one really complained at all, because most Protestants weren't reading it as much. And so then that just became sort of a standard in Protestant publications of the Bible. And then later on, Protestants came up for a theological reason why we reject those books, when the actual reason was just publishers kind of stopped publishing them because you stopped reading them, not for any particular religious reason.
Like at the same level as the other stuff. That was a retcon.
Well, it's a retcon, but it also goes back to Jerome translating the Vulgate. So Jerome was fairly unique in early Christianity in having a keen interest and significant knowledge of Hebrew. And so that's why he made this. Because before him, you don't really get a whole lot of sense that Judith or Tobit or the Wisdom of Solomon were significantly of lesser value or quality in a lot of Christian writings. They just seem to be treated like the rest of the scriptures. And Jerome was like, well, we don't have Hebrew originals. And he was very unusual in being very interested in Hebrew and learning a bunch of Hebrew and translating into the Vulgate from Hebrew. So, it does really go back all the way to Jerome.
He had to. I mean, I believe he kind of. I shouldn't say anything because this is not my area. But I've heard things about Jerome. So.
Attachment for $5 says, they don't bring on Bible scholars because Bible scholars actually read the Bible, unlike young Earth creationists. AIG is a moat and Bailey of members. I'll take a drink for that. Thank you.
Read it, and they also read it in the original languages, and they read all of the variant manuscripts to get a better idea of how the text developed, in addition to the history of the world at the time it was being written. So they're not reading it just for devotional purposes in a translated language, in a paraphrased printing by a very specific evangelical outlet.
Right. Milwaukee Atheist for $5 says, if they're basing it on 2 Timothy 3:16, John C. Poirier Poirier? I don't know. I'm not sure if John here is using a French pronunciation. Sorry about that. Has argued the word God-breathed means life-giving, invention of the inspired text 2022. So I don't know enough about the philology to decide, but I guess Kip does agree.
100%. And this is, I believe that this is, this is something that scholars were promoting before Poirier's work as well. You know, the other side of this is that while theopneustos, which is the word there, God breathed, and the way that a lot of evangelicals, conservative Christian scholars have understood that is that breathing out words is the same thing as like speaking them, and it's just not. Like from within a Greek perspective or a, you know, an early Semitic perspective of how this worked, it just, that's not almost certainly not what the writer is communicating. So that word appears only this one time in this one epistle, 2 Timothy, which was not written by Paul.
Legomenon.
Yeah, it's Apex Legomenon. But it does appear in a handful of, like a small handful of Greek texts, like written by Greek writers, non-Christian Greek texts. And then it also appears later in Christian inscriptions and a couple of texts. And the really interesting thing is that the sorts of things that get claimed to be God-breathed or God-inspired in some of these later Christian texts are like this one tomb inscription in Rome, or like this one part of, I don't remember this one offhand, but this one part of like a text that was written by Clement or Justin or something like this. But there's a few of these, right? And the ways in which this word theopneustos is being used in these other texts absolutely does not. It does not correspond to the idea of God like breathing out words as if he's speaking them. It has everything to do much more clearly with this sense that the text is alive. And I think when you get to that point, then you have to ask questions about what that even means, right? What does a living text mean?
How do you know that God didn't directly inspire that inscription on a tomb?
I guess I don't.
Right?
Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $5 says, the Bible is the Word of God the same way James Patterson writes all his books himself, akin to AIG and an exocomps replicator log at a brothel. Jeez, take a drink. Exocomps. You know, they can make various devices out of the front of that little nose thing. I suppose it could actually be something that might be associated with AIG.
Centuries, Christians have staked their lives and eternities on its veracity.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Maybe they shouldn't.
Right, I'm going to say that fact doesn't actually lend credibility to the Bible, right?
No.
Like, it just doesn't.
But there are many
People
today.
risking their lives for something only proves that that individual person considered it a really big freaking deal.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have anything to do with whether that thing is true or factual or in evidence.
Yeah. And also,
But
I want to
listen.
point out that historically, the Christians who have risked or lost their lives in, you know, as a result of being Christian, which has happened, primarily were not doing so in defense of a 66-book Protestant Bible that wasn't around until, like, the late modern period.
I gotta say though, I really like this desk.
It is nice, and I think it's new. Usually, before they've had just a rectangular desk with the ICR logo facing the camera.
each other.
Wow, yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah. This is nice. It's an upgrade, I would say. They do lose the ICR branding, but like, who cares? You're on the ICR YouTube page. You know where you are.
Yeah, you do.
Including scholars who claim Christianity, who cast doubt on the accuracy.
I love that. Scholars who claim Christianity. What they're saying there is, I don't think they're real Christians. Because they just claim to be
real Christians.
Yeah, we'll take a drink for just the casual, no true Scotsman. The Christians who don't believe like me, they're just not Christians.
God, I just hate the way this gets framed all the time, that if you are taking a critical approach to the text, you're motivated by casting doubt on what's in the text. Like, this is never my motivation. I'm not sitting there constantly going, what can I do? How can I structure this discussion about this text to make people less Christian? I don't think
the egotism of evangelicals specifically just gets under my skin. They're just doing stuff because they want to shit on the Bible. They're just doing stuff because they don't want to believe it. They just don't think that anything can meet their state. Like, shut up, girl. Like, if somebody walks into your yard and says, hey, I saw a dragon on your roof, you would be well within your rights to rationally say, yeah, I don't think that actually happened. And then you could actually step out onto the lawn, turn around, and look up at the roof and verify for yourself. Neither of those things mean that you hate your neighbor or that you just don't want to believe in dragons. Your standards are too high. Like, my God. These people.
For $2, Milwaukee Atheist says, critique of Hermeneia. Smart, but spiritually dead.
Really?
Yes.
And that's good, right? I mean,
oh my God, Kip. Noble Pain in the chat says, Dr. Kip, master of doubt. Puppets?
And puppets.
Nice.
Listen, guys, I don't even like Metallica, but, that's a conversation for another day.
That's a weird stance to take, but okay.
Why is that a weird stance to take?
Look, I'm not saying they need to be your favorite band, but, like, not liking them at all is weird.
You don't have to like their music.
It's weird.
I don't like the Beatles' music.
That's also a little weird.
I'm not a big fan.
I've taken a lot of heat for that one.
Yeah, right. I feel you. I feel you, Vish. I'm not a huge fan of the Beatles either. But I don't know.
People get weird about music sometimes, the way that they get about like the Bible or Christianity. It's like, well, haven't you tried this album? Or what about this period? Or what about this specific song? And like, I don't like this. Why are you trying to talk me into it? Like, I know how to make up my own mind about things. So yeah, and I mean, there's a few things like I like some of the older stuff, like Ride the Lightning and For Whom the Bell Tolls is a great song. But yeah, it's some most of the rest of it I'm just kind of like, yeah. And then with everything that went down when they sued Napster, I think that just did it for me. That just for me, that was the, because I can't say it, but like Metallica, yeah.
Patrick for $5 says,
why do you hate
goodwill? Why do you hate the Bible, Kip? Why do you hate Christianity, Kip? Be a better scholar, Kip. AIG is a rucksack of riches. We'll take a drink.
Nice.
Literally, Kip with his I effing love the Bible shirt in the background.
I was just about to say, if only Kip sold merch that told everyone how he felt about the Bible.
This Demon Trigger is making the exact point that I wanted to make. I don't like pancakes, so you ate waffles? Like, oh, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What are you talking about?
I've written a book, and I have repeated the phrase twice in the book, and have engaged in an almost an almost embarrassingly gushy appeal to people to please learn how to appreciate this text.
All right, but guys, we're almost an hour in, and we haven't heard a single word from Brian. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're almost 40 minutes in, and we haven't heard a single word from Brian Thomas.
I'll shut up now.
Okay.
Reliability and perfection of the Holy Scriptures. But if God's word isn't true, if it's full of exaggerations, errors, and fables, then why should we trust it?
Hey,
look.
You shouldn't trust the things that are untrustworthy.
But you know what? Those things aren't mutually exclusive, are they?
Yeah. You can have a book that is trustworthy in some areas and not in others.
And not only that, I would argue that fables can be. It just depends on what your standard is for what kind of truth you're looking for.
Right. Yeah. Like if you're doing like the scorpion and the frog, Do I think an actual scorpion and an actual frog had a real conversation in ancient Greek about going across a pond? No.
No, but that is a useful, true
The boy who
is.
cried
story.
wolf.
Yeah.
Do you think there was
Yes.
an actual boy that actually cried wolf? That, like, no, that is a morality tale. It's a
Not the point.
cautionary tale. It's trying to
Yeah.
tell you not to be yelling false alarms about
The-
things, because then when you try to get something that needs
Let's-
help, you won't get it.
Let's bring this closer to home. ICR. The parable that Jesus told of the 10 virgins. How important is it to you that there was, actually 10 virgins, scrambling around in the dark without their lamps, or with their lamps, or like what, it's such an historically, socially, philologically, religiously naive perspective of the text that it's embarrassing that there are people in the world who purport to be Bible readers who claim this text as authoritative in their lives and don't understand these very basic things about it. It just, yeah.
All right.
If we can't believe what it says about the historical, doesn't that negate what it says about the spiritual?
No.
Despite ever-increasing efforts to undermine the authority and accuracy of God's word.
Okay, look, I can't say no one, but I am not aware of anyone who is doing professional scholarship about anything whose goal is to undermine the text. No one cares, dude. No one cares about you or your particular theology except for you. And maybe the people who you harm as a result, but that's still not even most people, and for the most part, that's not even most of your theology. Like, you could believe in the historicity of the flood and not go be a transphobe and a homophobe or a racist. I know, because there are people I know of who can do that, who can believe in the historicity of the flood and not be homophobic, transphobic pieces of shit. So even then, most of your theology, I don't care about. I kind of care about the parts where you hurt people, although if you weren't hurting people and you just wanted to, I would care less, because, well, then you're not doing it. But, like, I really don't care. Believe Jesus is the Son of God, believe in the Trinity, believe in the resurrection. I don't care. And I'm pretty sure Kip doesn't care about those, about whether or not you believe those things either. Yeah.
I do not.
Like, would it...
Remember that...
How would it affect your life if this woman...
tweet from the birds' rights activist account where it says, "I am uncomfortable when we are not about me"?
Yes. Yeah. Like seriously,
Yes.
Kip, how much would you care if this woman decided to stop believing in the Trinity or believed in it harder?
Oh, God, right? Like, I just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just... Oh, hey, there's Josh McGee's who's gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. All right.
Well, Payne says, wait, the flood doesn't care about who we fuck?
It does not. All right.
I'm keeping track, by the way.
Of...
well, Vish has said it once, and I've said it once already.
Yeah, well, that means we need to have
I don't need a donation bucket, though.
No, you both used... We're now at -1. So anyone else who uses it, you now owe me a $20 super chat.
Oh, did it go up? I thought it used to be 10.
Yeah, but we're already at -1.
Oh, the next time. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I got it. I can do the math. I'm good at it.
Are you? All right, everybody.
I am.
We are starting up the scoreboard again. You may now super chat to add either real or imaginary scores to myself, Vish, or Kip. But the amount
We're
may
not doing this again.
We absolutely are.
We?
Yeah, because you said you could do math. And by the way, the amount cannot exceed the value in roughly dollars that you contribute. So there we go. The scoreboard is open. We're gonna go from top to bottom. So we got Kip at 0, 0. We got Fish at 0, 0, and we've got Dapper at 0. It's actually not 0, 0. It's 0, 0 I, but like whatever. It's
I'm not
0.
participating.
That doesn't matter because everyone else is going to participate, and it's meaningless the degree to which you consent or participate.
I don't care.
Okay,
I don't care, you guys. I don't care.
That's okay. That's fine. -1 for Kip from Tatchet. Now remember, the way this works is that the distance from the origin is who wins.
Yes, he does. He understands. So thank you.
I love negative I or I either way, because that was my baseball jersey number for a fan group many years ago. Because all the numbers that I wanted to take for myself were already claimed, and I was like, you know what?
All real numbers.
I'm gonna go math nerd and use the little lowercase I.
Listen, Holly. I was drunk when I drew that map, and no, I am very good at maps. In fact, I have a couple that I drew that are in the book here, and they look great. If I can find them.
Joshua Geese for $5 says 1/2 to get back to F's 0 F's. Thank you very much. That is indeed going to help.
See, there's a map, and it's a lovely map.
I believe you, although I don't think people can see it very well.
And it's an accurate map. People probably can't see it, but
I'm gonna hit play.
The Bible stands firm, and on today's podcast, we'll be discussing 5 reasons you can really trust the Bible. So joining me today is ICR paleobiochemist, Dr. Brian Thomas. Dr. Thomas, it's great.
Excellent choice.
Yeah.
Not
a
for
biblical
this
scholar.
Particular discussion.
Doesn't, as far as I can tell, know Hebrew or Greek, or Aramaic for that matter.
No.
You would think at least one of those.
Has he read an actual critical? Even forget the languages. Has he even read like a standard introductory text to the Bible or to
I don't know.
biblical studies? Right?
I don't know. Tatcha for $2 says +2i for Vish, but then Noble Pain for $5 says -5i for Vish, since I prompted her to say the holy swear. Also, AIG is a satchel of slugs. So that means that Vish is currently at 0 -3i. We will take a drink.
Oh God.
According to trifurcation, we need an actual number, not the f of x squared plus 98x minus 2000 for Kip. We need an actual number, not a function. We're not going to graph a function. That's not how this is going to work. Josh McGee's for 40.
I just wanted to point out that Lil says the maps are awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
Josh McGee's for $5 says, and here's the other half. Thank you very much. So, sorry if I wasn't clear, but we're not going to evaluate continuous functions in order to try to figure out, because we need a point. I can't figure out what the distance from the origin is if someone's score is also a function. Like, I don't know how to do that.
Can I just say Sable Eagle? It's a lovely map, an accurate map, a beautiful map, the like of which the world has never seen before. You know that word, map? People never use that anymore. You used to hear that a lot.
Oh, is it the second derivative of the function? Oh yeah, I missed the second derivative of the function. Yeah. Just text me the value of it, because I don't want to evaluate it right now. Actually, in one of my most recent scripts, I actually defined derivatives in terms of curved tangents. That was fun. I also spent way too long trying to transfer the tangent of a curve in Blender to the actual position of a second curve, and I never really got it to work, and it really bugged me. Sapphire Nincompoop Light, thank you, for $10 says, 10 rational points to Vish for the best emoji YouTube mobile won't let me use, DWI Darwin, which is not driving while intoxicated, it's deal with it, Darwin, in case anyone's wondering.
Mm-hmm.
And then AIG eggplants. Oh, all right, we will take a drink for the AIG's a bag of dicks that comes with that deal with the Darwin. And Vishanti now has 10 at -3i points, which means that she is winning by far, and I am definitely in last place.
To have you on the podcast.
It's great to be seen and heard, I hope.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited about our conversation today, and I think it's going to encourage a lot of people and really get them thinking. And so let's dig into this first topic, this first reason, which is historical inerrancy. So, often
Okay, I gotta point out, historical inerrancy is not a reason to believe in the Bible. It is a claim about the reliability of the Bible that you need to support with one of the reasons to believe in the accuracy of the Bible. Right? It's like saying one of the reasons to believe in Islam is the prophethood of Muhammad. Like, no, that's the claim that, if true, would lead me to believe in Islam, but I need a reason to believe that thing. -3i for Kip, +2i for Vish. Dapper gets 0 from Tantra with a Mothra, a Godzilla, and a Ghidorah. I will add those in. Alright, so now Kip is at -0, -4i. And Vish is at 10 -1i. Alright. And yes, I am just adding to the two axes separately. We're not gonna. I'm not gonna sit here and do trig. It's live. It's not gonna happen. Sorry.
People will call the Bible's history into question, even when Scripture provides a record of real people, real places, and real events.
Okay.
Did you know that Barack Obama was in a Spider-Man comic?
Yeah. Also,
does that make Spider-Man real?
Real people, events, and places are also all over the Harry Potter books. All over.
Oh, I mentioned this a lot, but it's probably one of my favorites. There are a number of real people in the biblical text, as she mentions, but the one that these guys never want to talk about is maybe my favorite, and that's Balaam, son of Beor.
Well, it's because we talk about the historical Balaam. He's centuries away from Balaam in the Bible, which means if you want to say that the Balaam in the Bible is the historical Balaam, you now have to recognize that the Balaam story is fiction.
You kind of do.
Yeah, because
or you 100% do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just no other way around it.
But you know what else is you know what else is cool about this is that the Balaam story in the Bible also probably provides some of our strongest evidence, and some of this has to do with the Balaam inscription as well, but it probably also provides some of the strongest evidence that we have for the existence of stories about the Exodus and the entrance of Israelites into the land of Canaan way back into the mid Iron Age, the early Iron Age. So that's kind of cool.
All right, so we do have some people trying to break the rules of the game here. Renee Reborn over and over and over.
This is your fault.
I know.
You didn't have to do this.
I'm okay with it though.
I'm not.
Has been a member for 21 months and says 50i for Dapper and -60 for Kip. But here's the problem: you can only give up to the value roughly in USD points, and since membership chats don't have any cost USD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then here's George McMarion Snoozerwolf for $5 who says
rigged. This is as rigged as your dumb sobriety tests.
In that you're drunk when you take them? Sure.
I just have bad balance issues.
Oh,
okay. The gyroscope thingy in the head, it doesn't work like it used to. It doesn't. So it's a real struggle nowadays, especially when I'm doing steep inclines on my mountain bike. It's actually hard to stay on the bike now.
Have you thought about training wheels?
Because of my No.
No?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
No.
George McMarion Snoozer will for $5 says, I know Kip loved Quaternions. Kip, how do you feel about Quaternions?
I'm just waiting for the video to start again.
Okay, so -10i and -2000. Unfortunately, you can't give that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut it off at the beginning and say it's -5i for Kip. Puts him to -9. Because remember, you can't give more points total than approximately how much you're paying. Maples.
You know what I really need? What I really need is an electric bike.
So just a motorcycle?
Mm-mm. like an electric mountain bike.
Oh, so
they're at least as expensive as a motorcycle, which is why
diet motorcycle.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Mapleson for 2 Beaver Bucks says minus e to the I pi points for Dapper. Which is way too many. You can't give that much on Canadian dollars, because that's like...
None of these words are in the Bible.
Minus 23. I'll take minus 2e. How about that? You guys have to stop giving amounts that are way in excess of the super chat value. Let's see. Fear Mega Thrusting Monger for 420 says square root 2 to Vish. Okay, so we've got, square root 2. So, oh, wait, if I don't... Okay. So, Vish, I'm going to cut this off after, like, 2 decimal points. So you're getting 1.41. So that means 11.41. And pi minus 1 to Daps, well, you can't give that much. You've already run out.
P, by the way.
You know what? It's not when in the context is math, and I'm speaking English. The context were languages and alphabets, or I were speaking another language, I might agree with you. So then I will get 1.41 added to my score. And then 5 minus pi minus square root 2 for Kip. Alright, minus pi minus... Yeah, okay, so Kip gets another 0.44. Good job, Kip. Alright,
wow,
and then
thanks.
Tatcha for $2 says minus 1i for Kip, minus 1i for Dapper. Alright, so Kip gets 10 right here. And then another one for me, so it's minus 3. So I think Kip is still...
If y'all keep putting in all these like equations and figures and calculus and trig and all this whatever, I'm gonna start asking people to donate to my fundraiser and go over the limit. That it wasn't a limit; it was just a goal. But I can't brain math on a Saturday. I can't brain math most of the time.
Well, I mean, I'm not evaluating square root 2 in my head. It's going in my phone.
Like this is really showing the lengths that people will go to avoid watching this video.
That's fair.
True.
And these can include significant kings, battles, and nations that, if they really existed, we'd anticipate finding records even outside Scripture.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, do we find all of those attestations outside of the Bible for all of these stories?
Some of them, yeah, some of them.
Yeah, but
not all of them, though.
No, and sometimes they can prove to be a little problematic. I mean, the one that you probably will hear. Oh, he's going to get to that. So
okay, yeah,
I will save it. I will save it.
Renee, just in case, reborn over and over and over for 5.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
To be frank, I didn't hear that rule. In that case, -4i for Kip and +1 for Dapper.
All right, I think that puts Kip back in the lead. Although. No, it definitely puts him back in the lead. He's definitely got farther from the origin than Vish is, although it's close. Whereas I am definitely in 3rd place right now, by a pretty good margin.
And so with that in mind, are there extra biblical sources that line up with the history we find in the Bible?
Yeah. Which I'm not aware of anyone who is like a professional in any of these fields disputing. I am aware of like people who spend way too much time on like r/atheism or something, who will say no, nothing in the Bible.
It's just a book of fairy tales.
No, but like, yeah, of course there are.
There's so many that you can.
Their response is all or nothing, and when you don't find the evidence, it just means we haven't found it yet, but we're gonna.
And look, in some cases, yeah, maybe you will, but in other cases, no. The evidence is in. The answer is it didn't happen. Like the conquest.
Flood didn't happen. It's not possible to happen.
Yeah.
And they just keep painting themselves into a corner because the heat problem would have vaporized the earth, and you don't want to appeal to a miracle, so it sucks to be you.
Basically, you can take the historical claims of the entire Torah and just blanket say, no, didn't really happen. Not historical.
Spent a lifetime studying them.
Oh, and Joshua too.
Sorry, did he just? I checked out for a second. Did he just claim that for himself that he spent a lifetime studying
No, he said you could spend a lifetime studying.
You could, yes. Well, I mean, some of us actually do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The thing is that you could spend a lifetime in a scholarly pursuit over the finite number of extra-biblical corroborations for biblical events that we have is not on its own evidence that the Bible itself is reliable. It's just that some of those events have corroboration. And hey, fun fact, you can spend your entire life studying like one inscription on one tomb in some place in the ancient Near East or something. That's a thing you can do.
There's just, and it's fascinating. So
I agree with him there. It is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's why some of us spend a lifetime.
Yeah, actually, we'll take your drink. Brian, you got something right. It is indeed fascinating.
That's right.
That's why the entire field of like archaeology and biblical scholarship and history exists. That's why those fields are there.
So we can just select a few, but you could do, the rest of the podcasts till the cows come home, just on this topic of how extra biblical sources.
Yeah, they won't.
Whether it's King's lists or histories, ancient history.
Could that be the Sumerian?
Again, I want to find documentary evidence or any extra biblical attestation for people living 9 centuries.
Well, I mean, as Kip said, the Sumerian Kings list, obviously. There you go.
Those aren't talking about Adam and Enoch or whatever. Like, I mean, they want evidence that their specific, like, bespoke stories happened.
Okay.
They're going to be like, yeah, well, the Sumerians just copied it.
And they made it really silly, Vish, because like those guys live for tens of thousands of years, which is that's just dumb, right? Like, I mean, nobody would ever think that.
Yeah, every once in a while I do get someone who's a creationist or something saying like, well, this ancient text is ridiculous, unlike Genesis. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what now?
Okay.
What's happening?
I think even more impactful are like archaeological discoveries. Mm-hmm. So, for example,
again, do we have any for Enoch or the King?
Maybe let's see
discoveries. For...
let's see.
You know what though? Could let him cook.
Thatcher for $2 says, "Why is he manspreading past the desk?" Well, I mean, I would suspect because. Look, I don't know the degree to which Brian Thomas would manspread in a circumstance where he would actually be taking up space that should be occupied by others. But he's not doing it in this case. So, like, I feel like if you're alone on a couch or something, you can spread as much as you want. Because you're alone on a couch and he's alone at a desk that's like, he couldn't possibly spread enough to actually impinge on Renee's personal space. So, like,
I've got that cool
that's not what manspreading is.
Section that I really like. So
like, it's to manspread, you have to be invading what should normally be someone else's space by spreading out too much. Like when you're in the middle of a crowded bus.
On the bus,
yeah,
and a guy sits down next to me, and I'm just chilling in my seat, and he just spreads his legs wide open as if he's got Tanuki level balls, which you don't. Your balls aren't that big. That's manspreading. Sitting alone in your chair or taking up all of the single person chair that you're sitting in, that's not manspreading.
Also, we've got +1 for Vish and -1 I for Kip. Wow, Kip, you are going pretty far down on that imaginary axis. Yeah. And then it's +1 for Vish. So, Vish, and you are not quite as far along positive on the real axis. But you're getting there. You're at 12.41 and -1.
So, we're not doing absolute value then, I guess.
No. If someone donates like -12 points for Vish, you're going back down. And it's it's distance from the origin.
Got some notes here about historian Flavius Josephus.
The famous
is that first century historian Flavius Josephus?
First century Jewish historian. You got to make sure you get that in there. The full title.
The writer of the Antiquity of the Jews.
Yeah, the Antiquity, because those Jews, they're just so old, man. You wouldn't believe it. They're all geriatric. Yep, all of them. You might not think it, but Vish right here, 96. Once your baked dean is finished, you add at least 40 years onto your age. That's just what happens.
You wouldn't have to read the Bible to learn the basics about Jesus. You could learn about Jesus from Josephus.
I mean, you
Really?
could learn that there was a guy named
one
Jesus.
sentence?
Right. Like, if by the basics you just mean some guy named Jesus lived and he was executed and he still has followers, then okay, yeah, sure, I guess you could learn the basics if that's what you mean. If you mean, like, could you recover anything even close to any known Christian theological statement about Christology? No, you absolutely could not. Not even close.
That he was a man, that he had followers.
Yeah, that might be the most trivial thing, that he was a man. Oh,
like
wow.
the most the most minimally mundanely posited things about a person ever.
I guess maybe he's trying to argue against, like, the Richard Carriers of the world. Which,
Yeah,
like, okay,
probably.
yeah, sure. If your opponent is Richard Carrier, then I guess Josephus pointing out that he was aware of a historical figure named Jesus, who is almost certainly the Jesus of Christianity in the broad sense. Like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess that's a fair enough point.
I was hanging out in Blasphemer's Bible earlier this morning, and I was reminded that Richard Carrier has actually written things about the book of Daniel, and it made me sad. So,
what in the world? Does he even know Hebrew?
No. Oh, he also doesn't know
But he
Aramaic.
reads people that do.
Yes, he
Hmm.
does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's
Coming to trifurcation, the reason Vishanti has money problems is because she's still paying off debt from the Great Depression. Yeah, oh. Shouldn't have taken out that personal loan about your farm just before the Dust Bowl, Vishanti. What were you thinking?
He died on a cross. That his followers claim that he rose from the grave.
Now you're starting to get into those things that are quite possibly Christian interpolations, buddy. You know, the parts that sound like, hey, why would someone who isn't a follower of Jesus write any of these things since no one else believes any of these things?
All these details you can get from extra biblical histories. And so Josephus is one of them.
I love how he calls
sorry,
these
her
details.
reaction constantly is like, this is a couple times now. She seriously looks like she's just waiting for the podcast to end.
Yeah, like I said, Trey is usually enthusiastic. The other hosts that they have, usually it just feels like they're clocking into work. And like,
yes,
like it's either this or they sit at like the customer service desk and take calls. And they have the exact same attitude towards both, which is just like, I just gotta run out the clock and then I can go home.
That's God. I like Renee. I think
this is one of the few times that I've ever even been aware of her existence. I have no particular opinion. She doesn't seem worse. Actually, she definitely seems better than some of the ICR people, but she doesn't seem worse than average for a young Earth creationist, which is already a pretty low bar.
And what else?
And so Josephus, I just wanted to clarify.
There was clearly, that was not how the conversation naturally went. That was a sloppy edit right there.
He was not a Christian, so he had no
he was the first century Jewish historian. Come on.
Tie to what was happening. That's actually, like those events that were mentioned in the Bible, he didn't have a personal spiritual tie to it.
Besides having lived in the area at the time. That seems like a tie. I don't know.
Not a spiritual tie, Dapper.
I mean, at this time, like, the followers of Jesus and Second Temple Judaism weren't really, or I guess just recently post-Second Temple Judaism, weren't really separate things. They were, like, two different currents within the same sort of, like, milieu. So, like, he definitely might, I don't think there's any good reason to think Josephus was a follower of Jesus in any way. But he certainly had ties to people who were, in both spiritual and, like, just, you know, linguistic, cultural, and geographic matters. So, like, I'm going to take a little bit of a drink for the weird framing of this.
He was just stating the history of literally what was happening in his time.
Yeah, I think he was he was Jewish, but you may have called him a secular Jew.
Okay.
That is a distinction that makes no sense.
What?
Who would call him a secular Jew?
That doesn't mean anything, Brian.
That doesn't mean anything. And also, I really wish people would stop using Christian terminology to describe groups that aren't Christians.
Right.
The whole idea of religious and secular, that does not apply to non-Christian groups. We don't interact with our traditions the way that Christians do. Also, again, for the cheap seats, you can be Jewish and go to synagogue every week. You could be a rabbi and you could be an atheist. That doesn't make you religious or secular or whatever. It makes you a Jew.
Yeah.
Also this is not just a misapplication of Christian terminology. It's also a fundamental misunderstanding of culture in the period.
Yeah.
This idea of secular and sacred was just not something that anyone dwelled on anywhere at the time. It's nonsense.
Even within Christianity, the idea that secular is the opposite of religious is also itself very recent because, hey, remember that guy who is famous for being the guy who really proposed the Big Bang, Georges Lemaitre, who was a Belgian Catholic priest?
Right, yes.
That guy was a secular priest. Because that's a thing. Secular doesn't mean what you always think it means. You know what that means in the Catholic Church? It means he wasn't a member of a holy order. He was just a regular diocesan priest who happened to get a job at the Vatican. He was a secular priest.
Yeah, fear mega thrusting monger has it right on. Westerners, when they realize Christian religious concepts don't carry over to other groups.
Yeah. In fact, Protestant versions of what the word secular mean doesn't even correspond to other Western Christian uses of the term. No. Because again, most of the Catholic priests you've ever encountered have been secular priests. And I just want you to think about that. Demon Trigger 14K for $5 says, I think Ghost Dapper has pretty nice spiritual ties. True. That is true. And hey, if we get up to Fancy Avatar, maybe we can see another fancy spiritual tie, because I'll put Ghost Dapper in the poll. Maybe even Dormammu Dapper, who knows? We all know Vishanti would vote for Dormammu Dapper.
So he was just brilliant man, but he was writing a history for the Romans for whom he worked.
Wow.
Okay, but specifically, he was writing a history of the Jewish people for the Roman emperor who wanted to know more about this weird ethnic group in his empire who were kind of troublesome, if you will.
But this was not a... And I mean, sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you. I
was just going to say, so, like, this man is a scholar who is Jewish and who is hired to write a history of the Jewish people and is hired by the Roman Empire to do that. And when I say hired, I specifically mean given the task because he was a slave at the time. So I want to rephrase my sort of phrasing that indicated that this was a choice that Josephus had. He didn't. Yeah. He was ordered to do this, and if he had just decided not to, he probably would have been executed. It's weird because nowadays we don't think of like having a slave who's there to like write you a book, because nowadays slavery is underground enough that no one is going to use a slave for that purpose. So you got to remember that the ancient world was very, very, very different, and very frequently people like high caliber tutors for the rich and politically aligned people, or the people who are writing books of philosophy and history and whatnot. These people were themselves often slaves. And so the idea of like slaves not being allowed to do intellectual pursuits, that's something that was not the case in the ancient world.
Sure. So I think it needs to be pointed out as well that some people have this idea when they see that Josephus was an historian and that he was writing a history, or with perspectives on other early histories like those of Herodotus or Plutarch, right? That this is, or Manetho, you could throw in there as well. that these are properly modern histories, and they're not. Like Josephus, Josephus was for the time. Well, that's nice. I got my son just brought this. That's cool. Okay. For the time, this was properly a history, and this was, in the nascent days of putting together a research program for actually doing history that eventually came to be something approximating modern history. But Josephus was writing with an agenda.
Oh yeah.
To promote Judaism in such a way that made it appear legitimate, and in so doing, he took every opportunity he could to lionize the aspects of his own perspective. And let's be clear here, this is Josephus's own perspective of Judaism at a time, after a war, which sort of resettled the landscape of whatever Judaism was. This is in the early stages of establishing what this thing Judaism is, and there were plenty of competing voices within Judaism that just got suppressed or lost. And he's promoting against that. Like, he's promoting his own feelings to the point where, responsible scholars of Josephus and of early Judaism look at Josephus and say, this is useful, but we have to be really careful about how much we're just taking him at his word.
Yeah.
With regards to things that happened, and with regards to his descriptions of certain groups of people or certain leaders or certain, ways of thinking. So it's pretty complex.
All right, we got a super chat here. Tantra for $5 says, we have old antiquity Jews, Josephus, new Jews, Vishanti, non-Jews, myself, and also Kip and me. It's going to get to anti-Semitism soon. Yeah, there's a fair chance that something in the stream is going to go to...
Feels like that's, we're well
on our way.
And also -5 to Kip. Yeah, there's definitely that significant possibility. Now, I have heard evangelical Christians discuss historical sources regarding, like, first century and earlier Judaism without going hard into anti-Semitism. So it's not guaranteed. They usually reserve that anti-Semitism for later periods when they say, well, now the Jews are rejecting Jesus, so now I get to be anti-Semitic about it.
Yeah. Maybe I should say something about this here too. Some of these things that Hypatia Stanhope has posted. I see no Judaism before the Hellenistic period. Yahoo worship isn't Judaism. But I worry that people, including you, Hypatia, including some of your sources on this, also fail to understand the ways in which these circles on the Venn diagram overlap, and in terms of what some of these things even mean. Because while all of this is technically true, I also see a lot of people leaping to the conclusion that must mean that concepts like Judaism were just invented out of whole cloth in the 3rd century BCE, which is patently false.
All right, I'm going to
bring full formed like Athena from the head of Zeus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, he wasn't part of any of the church councils, and he wasn't part of the church, but he wrote about them.
That's true.
No shit.
Yeah, he probably could be predated a bunch of that
as a matter of the many other facts.
150 years, right? Yeah. Like, it's no wonder.
He also didn't sign the Declaration of Independence. He wasn't around for the Magna Carta. He didn't get to fight Genghis Khan on behalf of any of the Chinese emperors or anything. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff he didn't get to do. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Said he was writing down about the goings on prior to his time. So yeah, good point. What about the Hittites?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Tell us about the Hittites.
Tell us about the Hittites.
I mean,
Tell us about the Hittites.
The Hittites are fun. I like the Hittites. I think it's cool.
Huh?
For one thing, there's actually debate as to whether or not the Hittite language technically counts as Indo-European.
Ooh,
I did know that,
spicy.
Yeah, so it has a lot of characteristics and a lot of cognates with Indo-European languages, but one of the major hypotheses is that it actually shares a common ancestor language itself with Proto-Indo-European, and it branched away from that even earlier ancestor language before Proto-Indo-European was spoken, because it also lacks a lot of the key features that are nearly universal to Proto-Indo-European languages.
So cool.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? That's awesome.
I love that. That is awesome.
So yeah, we might be getting a look into like the deep evolution of the language you're speaking right now.
That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah. So when I say I love the Hittites, they're really cool, I mean it. I am enthusiastic about this.
I just
So
think
the
human
Bible talks about
history
these.
overall is
Hashtag
awesome.
not a linguist.
Yeah, hashtag not a linguist, exactly.
Yeah. No, yep. You gave your opinion about Metallica. You're not. That doesn't make you a professional musician, Kip.
Oh my god.
Somebody's mad.
Mayan finished studio for $6.66 says, Hail Nero, Daps, Dr. Kill, and Vish. Is there any truth to the rumor that Hank Williams Jr., aka Josephus, is a descendant of Josephus?
I think he meant to type Brosephus.
Yeah, probably Josephus. Not as far as I know, but what do I know?
Isn't that also a character that Godless Engineer created for himself a couple of years ago? I think it might be.
No.
I don't follow what John's doing very closely.
No.
I do remember the time that he strawmanned me specifically in a thumbnail to his video. That was weird.
Yeah.
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 No, he does that. So.
Yeah. Apparently, I think that I've proven the historical existence of Jesus, which is not anything I've ever claimed to be able to do, because I don't think anyone can prove that.
No.
Yeah. To be fair, I can't prove the existence of virtually anyone in the ancient past. I still believe a whole lot of people were alive in the ancient past, though.
You know what's funny? Historians don't operate with proof.
No.
That's for mathematicians and alcohol.
History operates on a preponderance of the evidence and
Cumulative case.
Yep. Tetra for $2 says, no, that's Hank Williams III. Who I'm pretty sure is also not.
Yes. Yeah, Hank III, the third.
Actually, do we actually have any reason to think that Josephus had kids? Do we know anything about whether or not he had descendants?
No, actually.
I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
I don't think I've ever heard about him writing about any children that he's had.
No, he didn't. He wrote nothing.
Oh,
I mean, he could have had children. I don't know.
Family. It seems.
Jennifer Silvis is saying no. It's Bocephus cognate with Bucephalos.
Oh, okay, got it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Alexander's horse, Cephalus? Not the name of his horse. Oh, here's a fun thing about historical horses.
Keep up with the freaking names of these guys' horses.
Here's a fun thing about horses in historical monuments. Horses in historical monuments almost always have balls. Despite the fact that very few of the actual horses that have ever been ridden into battle by famous people were actually intact stallions.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wonder why they did that.
Oh, because it's more impressive if you've tamed a stallion, because if a horse still has balls, they're harder to keep under control and whatnot, and it's more manly. But yeah, in fact, most war horses have been mares or geldings, because obviously, why would they not be? Stallions are a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Hittites.
Yeah, but clout.
Yeah, well, it really is just it. It's just like, this will look more impressive if the horse has balls. So you just put balls on there.
And
wait, does that mean that many horse statues are trans? Is this actually like low-key trans rights for horses?
That's woke!
All the horse statues are woke now, everybody.
Bible skeptics had not yet found any.
Bible skeptics.
What a Bible skeptic is just anyone who doesn't
anyone who embraces any sort of critical approach to the Bible. Right?
It's people who will just accept the Bible under their interpretation automatically with no question. That's one side. And the other side are the evil Bible skeptics who don't believe anything in the Bible. Which is a really dumb stance to take. There are definitely things that are in the Bible that you should believe are true because they're historically demonstrably true.
Evidence of the material culture of Hittites. And so they said, well, archaeology doesn't say anything about it, so therefore the Bible's wrong.
Okay, look, I'm not going to say no one has ever said that. I would never say that. Right? Like, I would expect that if the Bible talked extensively about an entire culture that I haven't found evidence of, I would still not expect that an entire culture was made up by the biblical authors. Because you got to realize, the Bible authors are mostly writing to their contemporaries. And if I started to write a history of, like, the United States, and I was referencing, like, a new country to the, like, west of the United States called, like, I don't know, Lexico, and talking about the wars that we had with the Lexicans, the Lexican-American War, that'd be weird. Why would anyone take me seriously? Why would anyone read my book? I just made up an entire new culture. I don't think the Bible authors were doing that either. And so, just because at one point there was no physical evidence of the Hittites, I don't think that's good reason to say the Bible is wrong about them existing in the first place.
This is this is an old trope. And it's something I should probably actually do is try and dig around and see if I can figure out where it came from, because I suspect this comes from some stuff that was written in the 19th century.
Probably. It sounds like 19th century anti-clerical stuff.
Yeah. So and it perpetuated into a pretty big deal. Like, I remember being at a youth conference, like a giant youth conference when I was 16 or 17 years old, and the speaker was a guy I even remember his name. His name was Dewey Bertolini, and he was
that sounds like a pasta dish.
It sounds like what?
It sounds like a pasta dish. Hey, you want some Bertie Boodolini or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it does. But he was a faculty member at the Master's Seminary.
Ah,
right. Y'all know what that is. That would be the school of the happily deceased and rotting John MacArthur Jr. The hell are you doing? Sorry. Yeah. So he came. He was like the speaker for this youth conference, and this is something that the first time I heard it was there. And he was like, he promoted this in such a way that the Bible talks about Hittites up until, the early part of the 20th century. There was no archaeological evidence for the existence of Hittites. Therefore, you could just throw out the Bible as, any. And I'm like, what?
That's not a serious take that any scholar should be
not. Yeah. Nobody. I very seriously doubt anyone anywhere, had this perspective. But I gotta say though, when you're a 16-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid, who is basically immersed in this evangelical world, that sounds persuasive.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to remind everyone, if we can get enough members, we will be adding the Mudkip Davis emoji, but we do have to get there. So, just in case anyone wants to help out.
Courtesy of April Van Ryn, who is actually in the chat today.
Yes.
So
there are no Hittites until, of course, material culture was then later discovered.
How about that?
And but all the skeptics do is because really, and this reveals their determination to doubt. Mm-hmm. It's not an objective, analyze.
Brian, if this is an example of the skeptics, I would like for you to name someone who was actually a scholar in a relevant field.
Yes.
Who had this position. Not some kid on Reddit, not some edgelord writing a book about anti-clericalism in 1850, whatever, but someone who was actually an archaeologist or a biblical scholar or a historian or something like that, who said we should get rid of the Bible because we don't have artifacts that are verifiably Hittite in origin. I want to know that person's name, Ryan, because I don't think you have such a person.
You've got something to say, Vish.
No.
And then I've got something to say.
No?
Okay. Well, then I got a few things to say here. One of the reasons why I think this is bullshit is because of what the Bible actually does say about the Hittites. It seems like kind of a weird flex, given that, and I could be wrong here just because I haven't memorized the entire goddamn book. But as far as I'm aware, we have mentions like there's a pretty strongly repeated core piece about the Hittites as one of the 9 or 10, I might be getting that wrong, nations of Canaan that need to be eradicated in the conquest narratives as part of this Deuteronomistic. For those who are new, Deuteronomistic, when I say that, that's this large chunk of writing that is based on the book of Deuteronomy and basically telling a programmatic history, a programmatic narrative about the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. There's this fixture of the Hittites as being part of the people who lived in Canaan prior to when the Israelites arrived in Canaan. So there's that. There's of course Uriah the Hittite. I believe it's in Ezekiel or Hosea. Makes mention. There's this almost like a creedal formula of how Israel was descended of the Amorites and the Hittites. My father was an Aramean. My mother was a Hittite. So these are the sorts of things. These are the mentions that we get in the biblical text, right? But like, here's the thing: like, why fixate on the Hittites when in most of the places where the Hittites are mentioned in like that part of the Deuteronomistic history, there's mention of the Perizzites and the Hivites and the
aren't the Jebusites in there?
The Jebusites are in there.
Jebusi, the Amori.
But we don't know. But all of these people groups.
Oh, I can tell you why the focus
are still. Well, yeah, I understand. I understand why. It's because they found material culture belonging to the Hittites, right? But up until then, nobody was going, well, the Hittites certainly don't exist. Because we've got all these other groups. Somebody, scholars, I suspect, understood that this is with reference to somebody.
Yeah. Why would
that we don't
make
know anything
ethnic
about
groups that didn't exist.
So
how would that help your rhetorical goals?
I think he's getting this mixed up with Troy, which most scholars were actually doubting the existence of before we found material remains. And that discovery was like, oh snap, this wasn't just like a legend or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's probably I think you're probably right. That there's a conflation of there's a conflation here of perspectives and reactions. But this I think leads to a more critical point. And that is that, again, in those places where the Bible actually mentions or talks about the Hittites living in their earliest, from the biblical writer's perspective, in their earliest mention or description, it would be in late Bronze Age, early Iron Age Canaan. Specifically, late Bronze Age, early Iron Age, southern Canaan, because this is the region that this is where the forces of this is where the Israelites under the leadership of Joshua went into the land and drove all the people out, right? killed them, eradicated these people groups. The Hittites are part of that. Now, from an historical perspective, that's just wrong.
Yeah, they lived in like northeast Canaan.
There are no Hittites in southern Canaan. Famously, the Hittites were the empire of, like, it's the Anatolian Empire, located predominantly in Turkey, and they competed with Egypt for control in this region. But as far as we can tell, that line was drawn pretty firmly in the Carchemish is where the battle, the famous battle, was fought, pretty close to Byblos there, which is like far north of the region of Israel. So this is an historical problem. And then I'll say something else here. By the time of the early Iron Age, the Hittite Empire had basically ceased to exist. It collapsed and it was gone. Were there people who still identified themselves as Hittites? Maybe, probably. How late did people continue to identify themselves as Hittites? That's unclear, but it creates some pretty serious historical problems for a biblical text who seems to try to locate the Hittites in a place and a time where they didn't seem to have existed, and rather speaks to this idea that they're sort of latching on to some of these ancient traditions and ideas that they know of broadly. They're out there in the ether, but also don't really seem to clearly understand. Okay, I'm done talking now.
Okay. I feel like I had something to say, but I lost train of that. I lost my track of that.
I have a tendency
minutes
to
ago.
Do that to
yeah,
people.
That's okay. Oh no, I did remember. Hey, if you are a young Earth creationist out there, and you do believe that we are incorrect about our suspicion that we probably can't find a scholar in a related field who had the stance that because the Hittites were not found up to a certain point, that made it so that the Bible was probably wrong on the grounds that the Hittites never existed. If you think that we're wrong, that wasn't a thing, please put in the comments who the scholar is that you have in mind who had that stance and what they wrote that evinced that stance, because I would be interested to read it. Because I am not making this as like a firm claim that, oh no, there definitely never was anyone like that. I've never heard of anyone like that. It seems extremely unlikely because of how dumb the argument is. But there are dumb people out there who were making arguments. Richard Carrier is a guy who exists.
Is the data first conclusion that they reach. It's a subjective, we don't want God in our lives. So,
Brian, I need you to understand, the vast majority of the people who have ever studied biblical archaeology or the Bible as a text have been people who did so at least with their initial motivation being about their Christianity. I need you to understand that. I need everyone to understand that. The field of archaeology in like the ancient Near East and biblical scholarship is not the domain of exclusively of atheists. That is not what's ever been going on, ever. Ever. Just like when people say like, oh, all the early geologists were just trying to get away from the Bible. They were all Christians. Lyell was a Christian. Steno was a Christian. I mean, like, the world is
have
not...
Have you considered... Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I guess not. Look, the world is not in some kind of giant conspiracy to tempt you away from your faith. There are just people who were doing their jobs.
Well,
and if their jobs contradict something that you believe, sorry.
Well, for these guys, it is a giant conspiracy if you're the protagonist of all reality.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is that. But like, okay, Brian, if you ever listen to this, I want you to think about how many times in your life you have ever done anything with the goal of disproving the historicity of the narrative of the Mahabharata. Because my guess is that you have never done anything in your entire life with that as your goal, Brian. That is how most people think of the narrative of the Bible. They do not ever think that it's something that they need to prove or disprove. And even the people who are in fields related to it still usually don't have as their motive disproving the narrative. What they have as their motive is finding out what we can actually say about the history of the time with high confidence and what we can't, and trying to make the best case for that evidence and what their conclusion is based on that evidence. That's the actual motive. I'm sorry that sometimes what seems to be true to most of the people who know what the hell they're talking about is not the things that you think are true. But that's kind of how life is. You think I'm happy about every conclusion of science? No, I want a warp drive. I want to fly around the galaxy. That'd be freaking cool. I don't have that option. You know why? Because science says it's probably not ever even going to be possible.
We're going to doubt the Bible no matter what the evidence shows.
You should always doubt things that don't have sufficient evidence. That should be your default.
Mm-hmm.
So,
again, if I tell you that I saw a dragon above your house, you're not just being a big fat meanie head if you say, I don't believe that.
No.
When they couldn't doubt that one, they just shifted. It's like playing whack-a-mole. They just shifted and doubted something else. They doubted.
Right, I need you to understand. Everyone doubts everything for which there is no evidence. But that's not the same as saying the Bible is wrong because we lack evidence for one particular claim in the Bible. Those are not the same thing. And I really hate that apologists especially love to conflate this. So if I say like, well, I'm very confident the flood of Noah didn't happen, then they'll lead to like, well, so you don't think that there was a guy named Jesus? Like, no, those are not the same claim. Darklaw for $2 says, Godzilla AIG is a pocket of rockets. Thank you very much. We'll take a drink. Speaking of which, the Godzilla watching is going to be starting up here probably a week from today. So,
a week? Well, I'm not going to be here.
You have to wait for me, or I'm going to be very mad.
Wait, neither of you going to be here next week?
No, I.
This is like prime vacation time. This is take a break from reality time.
I don't get to take a break from reality.
I'm going on a super secret vacation to parts unknown.
I'm gonna have to find a new guest. I'm gonna have to replace you two.
Oh, that's right. We're not going to be here.
Yeah, someone sponsored me to go out to Atlanta. So.
Well, then maybe we'll delay Godzilla by a week. I don't know.
Yay! Because I really want. This is when you'll finally get to see me after live streams. Like, I want to go watch stuff with people. I just am not like super interested in Power Rangers, but I'm definitely interested in Godzilla.
Look, Power Rangers has some good stuff. We just had a Power Ranger.
I didn't say it wasn't good. Okay. I didn't say it wasn't like. Poppy, it's not interesting.
The Black Ranger just lost his right arm. It got blown off.
Okay. All right.
That's
no.
Yeah.
Jillian says she's not going to be here next weekend either.
Oh my goodness! Everyone.
I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to be on vacation.
I'm being abandoned.
You are being abandoned.
You are being abandoned.
For example, that King David ever was a human, was ever alive, because there was no
human. That's a weird thing to say.
You might conjure the void.
No, because that won't make me enough money. I have to pay rent.
Okay.
People seem to forget that this is how I pay the rent. Yeah, also, King David, probably a guy that has very little relationship to the actual figure that we find in the Bible. Right? It's kind of like King Arthur. There was probably some guy...
Justice for Elchanan!
Yeah. There was probably some guy about whom the stories about King Arthur is based. But the stories are very little to do with the guy. Similarly, we have good reason to think that there was a guy named David because we have some inscriptions about the House of David from very early on in the book. So, check out the book.
So I wrote a book, and the longest chapter in the book is all about King David, which is fun.
Okay, you know what? Hang on a sec. After you're done, just put me in the queue.
Okay. I just took 5 drinks, by the way, because Bright Spinning just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships.
Nice. And I was just talking about this on Blasphemer's Bible a couple of hours ago. When it comes to David, and by the way, I noticed that that somebody has dragged Niels Peter Lemke out of retirement and started putting him all over YouTube to, talk about silly things. And he's so no, the Tel Dan inscription is not a forgery.
You keep going. I'm going to get a second.
It's not.
Pina colada.
Yeah, we got you.
So keep going for a while.
The Tel Dan inscription is an actual inscription that was discovered in situ by archaeologists when they were digging in the area of Dan, and they have reconstructed it. It mentions the House of David, which is a very common way. It's a very common attestation or description from the time period for recognizing a dynastic house. It dates to the 9th century BCE. So while we know nothing from the archaeological record, nothing that we can reliably date, there's no identifiable material culture, although something should also probably be said about that. While we have none of this for the actual David, it seems pretty likely that there was a guy who was identified as the founding figure of the Jerusalem kingdom, fiefdom, whatever it was, that emerged in, the 9th, 8th century. Now, I will also say that, and I keep plugging the book because I think it's great. Joel Baden has written a book about David that I really like, that I think people should read. It's a fun book to read, so people should check that out. But I think that a lot of the stories that do appear in the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel probably have some sort of origin in old sources about this figure. And one of the reasons I think that is because so much of this stuff reads like propaganda. It reads like Davidic propaganda that's desperately trying to deal with counter narratives about their legitimacy and about their antiquity and about their rights to rule in the city of Jerusalem. And I think from an historical perspective, those are the sorts of things that we should take seriously. We should take seriously the ways in which ancient writers are talking about their opponents and talking about their heroes. So I'll say that, and now I'm done.
I don't often engage with nonsense in the chat on air, but in this case, I need to. Habatia Stanhope claimed around 75 BC the Pharisees were brought out of Egypt to retake up position in the temple. This just screamed that you do not know anything about the Second Temple landscape, because the ones that were in charge of the temple service, the ones that were the administrators of the temple service and hierarchy, were Sadducees, and they were aligned with the Roman occupiers. They were also real big carrying water for the Herodians. Okay? Pharisees were not the temple administrators. They did not manage the hierarchy of temple rituals. They were street level preachers, leaders, and I guess scholars. That's not really a great accurate word for them, but they love to study, right? They love to teach and manage the community. So you really need to actually learn from reputable sources, because you are giving away the fact that you do not know what you are talking about. Selah.
All right, I'll hit play then.
Inscription or anything mentioning King David. Until in 1993 there was. And actually, I've got these resources here on the table just to show.
I love that he thinks it's an amazing thing that basically we shifted from like, I don't know, we don't have a lot of great evidence that there was a real King David, and then we shifted to like, yeah, there was probably a guy with that name, and he's like, see, the Bible was right the whole time. Like, what are you talking about, man? Right? I just don't get, like, if you told me like, oh hey, I have a pet capuchin monkey, I'd be like, I don't know that I believe that because that's pretty far fetched. Most people don't have that. But then like you showed me a picture, I'm like, oh okay. Do you think that was an earth-shattering revelation for me? What do you think is going on here?
It's super complex, right? And this is sort of what I was trying to get at. Like, so on the one hand, we have within the Davidic narratives some descriptions of things that don't particularly, promote. I guess that, certainly not in the way that we want them to. David's a problematic character in many respects.
That's an understatement.
For the writers of the Deuteronomistic history, but also, so on that side of things, I tend to look at that and go, probably it's hard to imagine you're making shit up about somebody that's this much trouble for you, right? Or that your sources on this person are, fabrications, if it's this much trouble for you. So on the other side of this, though, are things like the story of David's taking of Jerusalem to be his capital city, right? No, this just not a thing. This is not something that happened, right? And the reason,
put me back in the queue,
we know that is because based on what we've got, there seems to be some sort of consistent administration in Jerusalem for a pretty long period of time. So we're looking at stuff and we're parting it out and trying to divide what's actually reflective of something that looks like it could be historical from what is clearly fabricated.
By the way, before Vishanti, this is very quick. Our normal over-under is about 3 minutes per video that we're responding to. We're currently over, so well done, everyone.
Great.
Very good.
Go ahead, Vishanti.
I need to just correct something. Ugly German Truce was saying Pharisee linguistically comes from Persia. It does not. Prushim comes from the Hebrew word parash, which means separate. And the reason that they were called Prushim, or separated ones, you can go look up all the history on that. So I've run into a lot of really bizarre etymological misinformation lately, not just around this, but around some other really oddly specific stuff. So some words sound similar, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're related.
Almost sound nearly identical sometimes.
Like Tubal and Tuvalu?
Tuvalu and Tubal. That's still gonna hurt my brain. Ugh.
That is always going to be my go-to for why sounding the same is not really a very reliable thing to base anything off of. Actually, there's one other one that's one of my favorites is there's a word in Quechua, which is a native language in parts of South America. It's actually one of the most spoken of the South American languages. And there's a word in that language, mess, which means an untidy clutter. It
just sounds just like English word for mess. They must be related.
There's absolutely no etymological connection. It's literally just a weird coincidence that there's this one word that has the same pronunciation and basically the same meaning in two completely unrelated languages.
There's
shit happens.
So
you know how many words are in a language?
Post that I saw earlier today that was saying that certain words in Tagalog, or the language spoken in the Philippines, one of the languages spoken in the Philippines, came from Nahuatl, and the examples that they gave, half of them, I'm pretty sure they're actually Austronesian or whatever from that language tree. The other example that they gave was chocolate, the Filipino version, chocolate. And I'm like,
to be fair,
everyone had to borrow that word because chocolate only grows in the New World.
It's like saying every language is actually Sino-Tibetan because every language has either tea or chai as their word for tea. It's like, that's because they all borrowed it from the Chinese.
I know.
Just to
what is happening?
Yeah, I know. It's like, look, the words that they were giving weren't even Nahuatl. So.
Look, the fact that I call coyotes and that's a Nahuatl word means that English is actually a descendant of Nahuatl. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's 2 steps removed. Coyote is Nahuatl, and coyote is the Spanish way of pronouncing that. And then coyote or coyote is the bonkers English way of pronouncing coyote.
Just to
doesn't make English descended from the Uto-Aztecan language.
To provide some receipts here. The word Parash, it's actually there is, it's drawn actually from an Akkadian cognate, right?
Hell yeah. Akkadian. Love that.
So you're talking, that is almost certainly pre-exilic.
Ooh, that's spicy. I like it.
I'm gonna hit play because I think we're going too far off the topic.
Into linguistics. Yeah,
enough of this linguist. What do you think I am, a linguist?
But you're a professional word guy.
I am. That's not the same thing.
I don't know. To show a little bit of the books I've read on archaeology. The thing with archaeology, I don't know if you...
Okay, Brian, when you say a little bit of the books, what that makes me think is that you've read tiny bits of each of those books. What you want to say is a few of the books. Because when you say a little of the books, it's a very different meaning, and I get a different impression. Oh. I'm pretty sure you meant a few of the books I've read. I don't know what. Maybe he'll tell us if we hit play.
When you watch this video, Brian, and I have every reason to believe that you will. Make sure to add this book to your.
You gotta say what the book is for the people who can't see.
It's called God's Propaganda. Pulling back the curtain on what the Bible wants you to see. I had a moment. There, okay, I just had a moment.
All right, Kip, be honest.
A brain party moment. I'm sorry.
Kip, be honest. Who was your ghostwriter? Who actually wrote that book?
The Holy Spirit.
Dagon.
It was
the abomination of the Philistines.
Okay.
If you're do you have subjects that you read them because you're interested in them, but then you don't remember much?
No, but I'm weird.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, archaeology is one of them, honestly.
Right. It is. For me, it's like so many place names and dates and people names, and it just gets jumbled and tumbled. So I just keep reading.
I can't remember facts.
Look, that position is weird to me because I'm a guy who really likes lore about things that I'm interested in. Like, I know a lot of Star Trek lore or whatever, right? But for me, archaeology and history is just IRL lore. So just learn the lore.
It's IRL lore. Yeah.
Until some of the stuff settles in and shakes out in my mind. But speaking of,
maybe you guys should have found a biblical scholar to bring on.
Perhaps. Huh. Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, but they're all like Bible hating atheists.
It's just it astonishes me that they couldn't even find like a shitty biblical scholar. Like, I'm certainly there are.
I was gonna say, I mean, you don't have to name and shame.
Well,
no, I was just gonna say there's certainly some.
Well, there would have been some that would have been acceptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Tatcher for $2 says, "Can you all say hi to the dog? I am watching. I believe it's Siggy. Hello, Siggy.
Hi, Siggy.
I hope that you're being a good dog. The dog's your beat. I've seen some very poorly socialized and poorly.
It's not their fault.
Trained. It's not the dog's fault.
Dogs, as a class, are good boys.
Yes.
Gender neutral.
General.
Individual dogs are poorly socialized, and in some cases,
I'm not blaming the dog, but like there are definitely times where I might respond to a dog by saying "bad dog," in an effort to correct the poor socialization and training.
Dr. Kip the dog is also saying hi.
Oh, yay!
Of these books, Yeah, it's this one. This is actually one that we carry.
It sure is.
It must be good.
Wow.
I gotta be honest, if a creationist organization carries your book, I consider that to be like an anti-endorsement.
Yes.
I wouldn't. I still wouldn't object, though.
No, I would.
Okay.
I would. If someone tried, if some creationist organization tried to sell like anything to do with me, I'd be like, cease and desist. Stop that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Tom Meyer wrote this on archaeology and the Bible.
Tom Meyer, 50 fascinating finds that bring the Bible together.
That's
So here he's got on the cover. On the left is the sorry, brain fart.
Wait, is that the Uraeus medallion there in the bottom right?
It's the Hezekiah one. It's
with the seraphim, right?
So yeah, yes.
Or the seraphim.
But on the left is the oh God, why can't I think today? The Katifinom amulet, and then there's I believe that is the Sennacherib cylinder.
That's what I think it is too. I don't.
And then you've got the Teldan inscription right in the middle. On the left, you have text from the Chodayot, which is one of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then the Hezekiah seal.
Yeah, which both tells us what a seraph looks like, which is not what people generally think that they look like, and also tells us Hezekiah was probably a guy.
Yeah, and also, probably, a guy who was serving under some sort of Egyptian hegemony.
Right.
At the
My
time
guess would be
right?
probably something like a client state or a vassal state, something like that.
Yeah. So,
which are political situations that we don't really have much anymore. But like a client state is a state that generally has home rule, but you get to kind of boss them around a bit. And a vassal state, you generally get to boss around less, but they also just give you a bunch of money for the freedom to be bossed around less.
That's right.
They're also
like the protection racket from the mafia.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, be shame if something
right.
bad happened to you.
Although, to be fair, if you attack someone's vassal state, they generally do not take kindly, and they will, in fact, come for you.
Yeah.
So, like, the protection is... Which, to be fair, it usually isn't protection rackets, right? If you pay the mob your protection money, and someone knocks over your store that they're protecting, they will go after that person. Like, you're going to get the protection that's offered. It's just that if you don't... Which ultimately is the same...
You just don't get to enter into it voluntarily.
To be fair, though, that's the same deal that the government gives you. Is like, oh, hey, you want some protection, right? Well, we're going to offer you protection services, but you have to pay us. And if you don't, then we're the ones you need protection from. So really, what's the real difference between the government and the mafia? Think about that on your own, everybody.
I don't know who Tom Meyer...
That's only because the government already does. If the mafia needed a road and the government wasn't going to build it, you bet your ass they would pave one.
We are not advocating for mafioso infrastructure.
True, we're not.
I had to look this up.
Okay.
Because I'm not familiar with Tom Meyer, so I just punched it into the Googles, and it came up. I found his book on Amazon, but on his author page, he's listed as Mr. Tom Myers, which seems like maybe not the best. Not the best.
Look, I'm going to say you do not need to have a degree in order to do good scholarship.
No, it's true. But maybe especially considering the literally hundreds and hundreds of publishing credentialed scholars out there.
Well, we do have to start wrapping things up, unfortunately. Yeah. So, Kip, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to tell people what you want to know, and then I'm going to mute you after 30 seconds.
Okay.
So you probably need to learn how to go fast.
Anyways.
So 30 seconds and
go. I have a video coming out this week about Psalm 22, and I wrote a book, and it will be coming out in ebook format and paperback by the end of next week. I'm not doing any streams because I'm going to Parts Unknown for a secret holiday, and I
all right, everybody. What's coming up here on the channel? So let's see. On Tuesday, we've got the next. Tuesday is Jackson with Jackson. I have confirmed with Jackson. We're going to be doing Jackson with Jackson. Then on Thursday, we've got Hovind and Sanford, the movie, which is Eric Hovind and John Sanford talking. And then on next Saturday, I don't know what we're doing because neither of my co-hosts, there we go, co-hosts, will be here because they're abandoned. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm being abandoned right now.
Abandoned.
Yeah. If you don't know what abandoned is, look into JM Truth. It's hilarious. He can't spell his own name. He's a very special individual. So yeah, that's what's coming up in the next week or so. After this, over on the Discord, we will be going over and watching episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. So if you are into that, you can see how Javi's getting along without one of his arms. Which the answer is like, not great. Not great. And also, they've just managed to get themselves thrown to another galaxy without a way back. And they took the Green Ranger's girlfriend with them accidentally. So now she's stuck out in the middle of nowhere too. And yeah, she just came out of the bathroom and was like, hey, what's going on? Oh, we're in a different galaxy? Okay, thanks. So like, yeah, it's fun times.
I have one thing.
Yeah?
I have one thing. There's Budget Scripture Saturday tonight. Thank you, Holly.
Oh.
Vishanti, what do you have coming up?
Great.
You have like 30 seconds. Go.
Okay. Basically, this week I've gotten back in touch with Chrissy Hansen. We are still working on videos, but Chrissy got her master's degree, so we're gonna be planning that. I'm going to Dragon Con. I will take any donations if you want to help me pay for snacks. And then after that, I will come back and actually put out some more videos because it turns out grad degrees take a lot of your time.
All right. Well, with that, thank you very much, everyone. And furthermore, ICE must be abolished. See y'all later. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, Arrow Dodger, Caleb Anderson, Dan Sheedy, Eleron Teller, Phil Cavara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostock Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Sphincter of Doom, Volis, North Texas Fossils, and John Ackerman. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.